What's happening, everybody? I appreciate you checking in. All right, last week I dropped a couple of videos kind of highlighting some position groups on our current roster that I want to kind of pay attention to as teams made their June 1st cuts and players became available. If there's certain players within these position groups that I detailed out, I'm definitely going to be paying attention if they're worth kind of diving a little bit deeper on. And there is a name that was announced just yesterday that he is now available and on the market as a free agent. So I definitely want to dive a little bit deeper in this video on that specific player. And I'm going to give you my opinion on whether or not I think we should bring him in. But at the end of the day, I want your feedback as well. So before we get into it, if you can, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. My next giveaway is at 5,500 subscribers. So if you want to be included in that, hit that sub button. I definitely appreciate it. And so we're going to dive right into it. It was announced yesterday that the Bengals are releasing veteran linebacker germaine Pratt after 6 seasons. And the article goes on to read that Pratt requested a trade from the Bengals earlier this offseason following a difficult year for the Cincinnati's entire defense. And yes, it's no secret as a whole, the Cincinnati defense definitely did struggle last season. Despite racking up a team best 143 tackles, Pratt also struggled in key spots, registering 20 missed tackles, according to Pro Football Focus. And one thing I definitely want to dive into is germaine Pratt's stats since entering the National Football League in 2019. And you can take a look up on the screen that he improved his performance year in and year out, starting in 2019 all the way into last season. Again, ranking top 10 in tackles in the National Football League with 143 tackles. And now, look, sometimes stats can be misleading, right? Sometimes you definitely want to take a look at, even though he led the team in tackles, even though he was top 10 in tackles in the National Football League, how did he get those tackles, right? Where did those tackles take place with a defense that struggled so much? Sometimes do those tackles have a positive impact on the outcome of the play? There's a lot of times when you have a struggling defense, linebackers might rack up tackles just because you're making tackles 7-10 yards downfield because everybody else around you isn't doing your job. And you just kind of have that athleticism. You're kind of a ball hawk to kind of get to the ball. And with germaine Pratt coming off of his best year since coming into the league in 2019, statistically, you definitely want to dive a little bit deeper. And we did. And if you missed it, we went live yesterday and we broke down almost 40 plays from the 2024 season just to get a better idea of who germaine Pratt is. You don't want to just look at stats. You want to do a little bit of research and really get a good idea as how would he fit in this linebacker room and what would he bring to this linebacker room if we did sign him on. And so I definitely dive so much deeper to get a very good idea as to who he is and what do these numbers actually mean. So if you missed out on that, definitely go check out that live. And so next, I definitely want to take a look at our linebacker room. I think a lot of us can agree that there's a lot of question marks as it relates to this linebacker room. Obviously, you have a Landon Roberts. And I do think Landon Roberts is going to bring a good downhill type of linebacker, a good run stopper, a green dot guy. He's most likely to be the center point of this defense outside of maxxcrosby. But then you have Devin White. Big question mark. Which Devin White are we going to get? You have Tommy Eichenberg. Didn't play a whole lot last year. He was a 5th round pick. And so it still remains to be seen. How is he going to be able to contribute in this linebacker room? Cody Lindenberg is a 7th round draft pick. I do think Cody Lindenberg has high upside and has potential to contribute. But again, with being a 7th round draft pick, it just remains to be seen just how much impact he can have year one. You have Amari Gainer, undrafted free agent last year. Again, I had a lot of high hopes for him, but still a lot of question marks. How much is he going to progress this year? And can he become a starter? That still remains to be seen. You got Jalen Smith as well. Again, a lot of question marks. And so you look at this linebacker room, and we have one guy, Landon Roberts, that I think we know what we're going to get out of him. But outside of that, where else are we going to get true starting caliber production in this linebacker room? Still a big question mark. It remains to be seen. And this is why I definitely want to make a video of germaine Pratt and kind of give you my opinion on him. Now, next, I want to take a look at germaine Pratt's contract. He did sign a 3-year contract back in 2023. So he did have one more year left on his contract, which I believe he was due roughly around $7 to $8 million. And so that might be what he may be looking to target per year moving forward. But I definitely want to kind of point that out. And we also have roughly around $36 million left in salary cap space. All right. And so that's enough salary cap to be able to make another move. And now it's question marks where we want to make that move. But because we have so many questions in this linebacker room, if we want to make a move somewhere, this could be a potential spot to bring in one more player. Now, obviously, you have the ability to roll over some salary cap, and you also want to hold on to some. Just in case there's injuries throughout the season, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of salary cap to make a move in the middle of the season if need be. But we also have some players that we could extend, like Colton Miller or Jacoby Myers. You definitely want to have that option moving forward. But with 36 million, we definitely have enough salary cap to make one more move and improve a specific position group that has a lot of question marks going into the 2025 season. And then also, according to SPYTEK, looks like Jermaine Pratt, they have him estimated having a market value of around $9 million. Right. So that's kind of the estimate. Let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think Jermaine Pratt would be worth $9 million to the salary cap hit if we did bring him in? But this is what SPYTEK has him estimated at. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think he is worth that $9 million? And one thing that I definitely want to touch on, and I forgot to mention it, is if you look at our linebacker room, you look at the depth chart, we did basically a lot of bargain shopping for this linebacker room. We did not pour a lot of salary cap space into this linebacker core. I mean, Landon Roberts, I believe he's on a 1-year, $3 million contract. Devin White, $1 million. Tommy Eichenberg still on a 5th-round rookie deal, right? Cody Lindenberg, a 7th-round pick. Jalen Smith, brought him in for basically, I believe it was around $1 million. And so there is not a lot of salary cap tied in this linebacker room. And when that happens, it doesn't mean you can get production out of it, but it just doesn't mean that the expectations should be extremely high, right? You can coach up some players. You can have some surprise players that can revive their career a little bit. Again, Devin White could be one of them, but when you bring them in at such inexpensive contracts, the expectations shouldn't be too high. And so again, just kind of want to point that out, just really how much bargain shopping we really did at the linebacker position. And then obviously we did not prioritize it in the draft because we waited till the 7th round to address it by getting Cody Lindenberg. But it's just something I definitely wanted to point out. So I'm going to go back up to the big screen. So here's my take on Jermaine Pratt, and let me know what your thoughts are on this. And so if we were to bring him into this linebacker room, onto this defense, with all the other question marks that we have at the linebacker position, you're going to get a linebacker that you have no question what you're getting. You know exactly what you're getting with Jermaine Pratt. He's going to bring plenty of starting experience into this linebacker room with high volume production in the last few seasons. Again, last year being the leading tackler on that Cincy defense, as well as a top 10 tackler in the National Football League. And with reviewing some of his game film, you can clearly tell that he was a leader on that Cincy defense, and he was a good communicator on the field. And so he's going to come in and be able to help with the Landon Roberts and Patrick Graham kind of lead this defense well on the football field, which is a great attribute to be able to bring into this locker room. Also, with Pete Carroll and John Spytek always talking about bringing competition onto this team, you bring in someone like Jermaine Pratt, he's not only going to provide competition for Landon Roberts, but now this is another guy that's going to create competition for Devin White, because we have a bunch of second-year guys, rookies in this linebacker room. With Devin White, it just remains to be seen just how much competition is he feeling, because right now Landon Roberts is a starter and Devin White will most likely be that starter next to him. And so you need someone that Devin White's going to have to truly compete with to get on this football field, because as it stands right now on this depth chart, he's most likely going to find his way on this football field. And so I want more competition so Devin White's forced to really get the best out of him moving forward. Also, Jermaine Pratt brings another run stopper onto the football field. And with the division that we're going to play, you got the Chargers that beefed up their offensive line, that also brought a lot of weapons in that backfield. You got the Chiefs that will continue to pound the rock with Isaiah Pacheco, and they have a really solid interior offensive line. And you saw that the Broncos prioritized the backfield with getting RJ Harvey as well as bringing J.K. Dobbins. You know, we are going to need some true run stoppers in the middle of this defense. And the way that Patrick Graham kind of showed his scheme last year, if you can have two extremely good linebackers that are headhunters that can fly to the football, that is going to combat some of the moves that our AFC West rivals brought into the building through this last draft and offseason. And when you look at Jermaine Pratt's game film, right, if you can free him up, we're going to have a dominant defensive line. If Christian Wilkins comes in healthy and he's firing on all cylinders, you're going to have two linebackers with our defensive line that's going to take up double teams. You obviously have to focus on maxxcrosby. You have to know where Malcolm Kuntz is on that football field. Landon Roberts and Jermaine Pratt, if they can just fly unblocked 70% of the snaps, these guys are going to rack up tackles left and right. And that's truly what you want when you have a dominant defensive line. You want linebackers that can fly the football and finish at the point of attack. And that's what these two linebackers, Landon Roberts and Jermaine Pratt, can do and can bring to the table. And so I do believe that Jermaine Pratt can bring a whole nother dimension to the run stopping ability of this defense moving forward. Also, if you look at his game film, I think he can help in being that pass coverage linebacker lined up next to a Landon Roberts. And so at the end of the day, at a minimum, he would be the second best linebacker in the linebacker room. And based on what his numbers said last year and the game film that we saw, he's going to compete to potentially be the best linebacker in that linebacker room. And without question, he would be a day one starter. There would be no question as to who would be the projected starter moving forward into the 2025 season. That would be Landon Roberts as well as Jermaine Pratt. And lastly, obviously the numbers have to make sense. And so for myself, I would not be opposed to potentially, with our salary cap space, I wouldn't be opposed to offering him somewhere around a $7, possibly $8 million contract, maybe for 2 years, because it's not necessarily a prove it deal. I mean, he proved last year that he is an effective linebacker. Again, top 10 in tackles, leading the Cincinnati defense in tackles. And so it's not a prove it deal, but I do think that you bring him in with the veteran presence and being a day one starter, with the competition that we're going to see in the AFC West and the way that our division rivals have really molded their offenses to have more of an effect in the run game. I do think bringing him in is going to definitely help this defense find success. But at the end of the day, it's going to be another veteran presence that's going to help some of these younger guys develop. And not only can we potentially have success in the immediate this season, but also prepare for the future by developing some of these younger guys on this roster. And so at the end of the day, let me know in the comment section down below. Would you want to bring Jermaine Pratt? Again, let me know. 7, maybe 8 million, or do you think that's a little too high? Would you want to see us bring him in for a lower number? Let me know in the comment section down below. So I definitely appreciate you sticking with me. If you can, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. My next giveaway is at 5,500 subscribers. So if you want to be included, hit that sub button. But I appreciate you sticking around. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out of here.